In this video, we're gonna look at the state of Cardano and answer the following question. Was I wrong about Cardano? You see, I've been a long-time skeptic of this project, and I've made several videos criticizing them. Sorry guys, but I can't take it anymore. Cardano is an absolute joke of a project. This meme is what comes to my mind when I think about Cardano. Grand promises on the left, but amateur hour on the right. But it's been 6 months since my last video, and a lot has happened since then. So I'm wondering, have they addressed my previous concerns? After all, as much as I like being a villain, I strive to be fair on this channel, so if they deserve an apology, then I'll give them one. Now, whether or not they deserve an apology depends on 3 things in particular. The first being why I thought it was a joke in the first place. Well, a big gripe I had with them was all the delays they faced. Cardano actually started back in 2015, but they took forever to roll out the most basic features. It took them like 5 to 6 years to roll out staking and simple smart contracts. Meanwhile, other projects came in and launched those in 2 years or less. But even without those features, Cardano grew to a massive valuation based on hype and Charles Hoskinson's charisma. That really irked me because I'm a strong believer of fundamental analysis, and Cardano's valuation was totally divorced from its fundamentals. Another thing that irked me was Cardano's culture of over-promising and under-delivering. For example, Charles once promised that a big upgrade would happen by a certain date or else he'd eat his shoe. He also boldly predicted that Cardano would have thousands of dApps live on their network a year after his tweet. Well, as you can imagine, neither of those happened, not even close. This style of hyping things up wasn't only from Charles, it also came from their broader community. Like when smart contracts were finally live, Cardano fans were super excited and they went around sharing this graphic that supposedly showed how robust their ecosystem was. They'd be like, look at all this adoption going on. But at that time, the vast majority of those projects were just proof of concept or idea phase, and they were not usable by any stretch. But eventually dApps did launch, and that led to my third gripe, which was all the technical issues they faced. Remember the concurrency issue that caused a huge ordeal? That happened when MinSwap tried to launch their DEX on the Cardano testnet. Users could not get any transactions through because of the concurrency issue, so MinSwap had to pause their launch. Defenders will say, that was to be expected because MinSwap didn't design their DEX the right way, given Cardano's EUTXO design. But I never really liked that excuse, because MinSwap was just trying to build a simple cookie-cutter DEX, so the Cardano team should have provided some type of support instead of letting them flop so publicly. And when dApps started to launch on the mainnet, we saw even more projects emerge. During the Sunday Swap launch, there was massive congestion, and they literally wrote that transactions would take days to be processed. Like, what the heck? How's that even a proper DEX at that point? So Cardano was already facing scalability issues in its earliest days, and that was a pretty bad look for them. Scalability was supposed to be their biggest advantage versus Ethereum, and they didn't even have that going for them. It also made us wonder, weren't peer reviews supposed to prevent these issues? Or was that just a meme after all? Anyways, these are just some of my biggest criticisms in the past. If you want all the details, then you'll have to watch the previous videos that I made, which I'll link you at the end of this one. But like I said, it's been over 6 months since my last critique of Cardano, and a lot has changed since then. And to be honest, I do see some glimmers of hope after taking a new look. But before we get to those, a quick shout out to our video sponsors, SynFutures. They are a DeFi derivatives protocol that's going to hold an airdrop soon. This will be an NFT airdrop for everyone who helps them test out their version 2 testnet, because they are currently rolling out their impressive new platform. Now, this airdrop may come with a token as well, but nothing has been officially announced for that. But if you're into DeFi derivatives, specifically futures and perps, then definitely go check them out, because SynFutures is one of the fastest growing futures platform in the whole DeFi space. Their approach to permissionless futures trading, I honestly haven't seen anywhere else. So if you're interested, go sign up to be a tester using my link below and get that airdrop. Alright, so in terms of glimmers of hope, I see 3 in particular. The first one being their promising stats and metrics that show progress. If you look at their adjusted transaction volume, that's trending up and to the right. And the number of ADA wallets has steadily grown to over 3 million as well. Their total value locked is increasing per this chart from DeFi Llama. It's in the hundreds of millions range, which is not that much compared to other chains, but it's a start, and the team expects that number to rocket as new upgrades are released later this year. In terms of developer activity, Sandbase's 2021 report shows that Cardano had the most active GitHub out of all projects, and also the highest number of daily active contributors. Personally, I prefer quality over quantity when it comes to developer activity, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt here. Now, all of these promising metrics really stems from the growing ecosystem, which is my second glimmer of hope. Per Cardano's developer showcase page, there's 84 projects that are currently live. Now, not all of them are actual dApps or protocols that you can use. Some of them are things like block explorers or staking tools. But I do know that they have some DEXs already being used, such as MintSwap, SundaeSwap, and MuleSwap. Cardano's parent company IOHK also tweeted that there's around 900 projects building on Cardano, and that number is growing daily. A large percentage of that are NFT projects, which makes sense because Cardano NFTs, or CNFTs, are super simple to create and they offer super low fees when trading them. You can go to CNFT Jungle to look at all the NFT activity going on in Cardano land. And over there, you'll also find a list of all the marketplaces that were tailor-made for Cardano NFTs. Even with all these new projects emerging in Cardano land, I think the biggest glimmer of hope is my third one, aka all the big upgrades on the horizon. Remember, Cardano splits their roadmap into 5 different eras. Earlier this year, they entered the Basho era, which is all about scalability. This is desperately needed because we've already seen Cardano's average blockchain load hit over 90% at multiple times. The Basho upgrades should bring much needed help here because it includes things like a slight increase in block size, improvements for their Plutus smart contracts to make them more efficient, pipelining, which speeds up block propagation, and a bunch of off-chain features as well. Much of this will come with the Vasil hard fork, which is tentatively set for June of this year. Vasil is expected to increase the transaction throughput, and thus lead to more volume and liquidity flowing across the Cardano space. In terms of off-chain upgrades that come with Basho, there are things like sidechains, multi-signature aggregation, and Hydra. Hydra is the much anticipated layer 2 solution for Cardano because theoretically, it could increase the throughput to millions of transactions per second. dApps that require super high performance can be built on Hydra, and that opens a whole new world of opportunity for Cardano. There's no hard timeline for Hydra, but it is expected to be rolled out in pieces, with some of those coming in late 2022. All of this sounds pretty promising, right? It sounds like Cardano has turned a corner and finally has some stuff to show for their years of work. In just a minute, I'll share my updated verdict about this project. But first, we gotta talk about 3 things that they must improve to silence the critics once and for all. The first, of course, is to improve their network's performance. Their capacity issues were sort of expected given their intentionally small block sizes and limited memory for their Plutus scripts. But they gotta upgrade these ASAP without delays, or else it's going to continue to hold back the growth of their ecosystem. The Meld team, a pretty notable group building in the Cardano ecosystem, has said that these restrictions currently force them to resort to some hacky workarounds to make their dApps work. So they are eagerly awaiting these upgrades and improvements. The second thing they gotta improve is their developer experience. If you go search Reddit or other forums, you'll see many programmers complain about the developer experience of Cardano. Some say that Haskell and Plutus are too difficult to learn compared to other languages and frameworks of other blockchains. The Meld team themselves wrote that the technical stack for Cardano isn't that industry friendly. And this is a team that's dedicated to building on Cardano, so I don't want to hear that they're biased. I think it's fair to say that the tooling, documentation, and just overall support for developers need to be improved urgently in order for Cardano to succeed. And the third thing is just to develop some great concurrency solutions ASAP. MintSwap introduced their Laminar protocol, which should help a lot, but it's still under development. Meld has also proposed some solutions which are in the idea or research stage. And finally, MuleSwap just completely sidestepped this challenge by going with an order book approach, but that has its own set of challenges to make sure it works smoothly and in a trustless manner. So my updated verdict is that Cardano is less of a joke compared to before, and I see some things to be bullish about. Cardano fans, what do you think about my points? If you want an apology from me for being too harsh in the past, then fine, I'm sorry. Y'all deserve some props for the progress you've made. But the team does need to deliver on their upcoming roadmap in order to shut up the critics once and for all. While I'm less down on ADA compared to before, I still wouldn't buy it for now because I think other projects are far ahead of Cardano, so they have a lot of catching up to do. By the way, if you want to understand my criticisms of ADA, then watch this video where I explain why I thought it was a joke. See ya!